welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome to First Parish, Unitarian Universalists of Arlington.
We choose.
We choose.
We choose to be
a liberal religious community.
Welcoming
to all.
We encourage each other
on our spiritual journeys.
Support one another
through the changes in our lives.
And challenge the excesses
and injustices of our time.
Called to love.
To love.
To love.
And upheld by joy.
We live our faith.
Take a moment now to soften into prayer. Find a comfortable position if you can, and allow yourself to close your eyes or gaze at something beautiful in your space. Gentle Spirit, giver of rain and sun, bringer of flowers, riser of mountains and splasher of rocks on the shore. We have so much in abundance today when we stop to look, to feel, to listen, to taste, to see, and to know. In the haste to plan and achieve in summer mode, we might forget to keep the present moment in our awareness. Incline our hearts toward your presence. Help us to connect to our fellow citizens and commit to their well-being, and support us as we nurture our country's ideal of liberty and justice for all, even as war and aggression continues, and lives are lost without meaning. Be with us as we speak up and speak out. Guide our words and our actions with power and with love. As we pause in community, we think of those needing support, including the family of Bob McCursey, mourning his passing. In addition, we send love to Gwen Hooper as she receives hospice care. Spirit of life, send healing and relief to those of us living with and receiving treatment for cancer, for depression, addiction, and loss. Be with us as we heal and as we bravely begin to love again. Loving Spirit, help us to realize our purpose and to feel the guidance of our compass. We remain in stillness and meditation for 2 minutes.
My daughter, DJ, started walking around 14 months. This was in mid-March. And since then, she has been on the move, going from shaky toddler to confident steps to running at every chance she gets. DJ is going places. And this is how I found myself trailing behind her one morning in April in Vermont. I've been on sabbatical for the past 3 months, and it has given me the wonderful gift of time. Time with my partner Daniel, with friends, with family, with DJ. On this particular morning, DJ had discovered acorns. Even in April, the ground behind the cabin was littered with them. And she squatted in that classic toddler way, and her little hands scooped up 2 acorns. and she bent down to collect some more. This is adorable, I thought. As she bent down again, one of the acorns slipped from her grasp. So she would pick up 2 and then drop 1. Pick up 3 and drop 4. Pick up 1, drop 1. And so on. And so on. And so on. After a few moments, my thoughts shifted. Oh God, I thought, we are stuck in some acorn hell spiral. Pick up 1, drop 4. Pick up 3, drop 2. Pick up 5, drop them all. It took a minute for me to name this new sensation I was feeling. It had been so long since I felt it. But then it came to me. I was bored. And boredom is a strange phenomenon. And I'm sure we've all heard a child whine, "I'm so bored," with an urgency of an international crisis. But what can boredom teach us? In The Atlantic, journalist Julie Beck writes that boredom, in many ways, is the absence of emotion. It's the absence of stimulation, of interest, of excitement. And she conducts an interview with Mary Mann. Mary Mann wrote a book titled Yawn: The Adventures in Boredom. And she says that what is lacking when we feel bored is often something much deeper than entertainment. She writes about her fear that there is no overarching purpose for my time, how boredom can paper over feelings of powerlessness or meaninglessness. It's easier to label that itchy sensation boredom than it is to consider its deeper meaning. But boredom can function as an alert system, and it can alert us to all kinds of different things. I wonder, when was the last time that you felt bored? And what was it signaling? Sometimes boredom is pointing to a spiritual restlessness, a desire for meaning, a search for purpose. The other day, I was chatting with First Parish member Michaela Kirby, and I told her about this topic. And she paused, and she thought about her own retirement and the change of pace she faced when work ended. She said, "I knew how to work. Now I need to learn how to live." Learning how to live. Learning how to live in a world that continues to be a place of heartache and harm. This week, as we watch headlines fly across our phones, I know many of us are holding a lot of heartache. This week, I've been praying for Lorenzo Slagado Arojo, a Houston father murdered by ICE. And I've been thinking of Nathan Wells, the teenager whose family is searching for answers. And Louisa Gagg, the transportation advocate struck and killed while riding her bike in Boston this week. There are many reasons we are feeling heartache, many reasons we are worried about where this world is going and what our place is in it. Boredom might reveal a spiritual distress that we've been trying to deny. According to a 2015 Gallup poll, 70% of Americans are bored with their work. And that is quite a lot. And maybe that's okay. Work doesn't have to be a place for meaning. But I do believe in order to be spiritually fulfilled individuals, we have to find purpose somewhere. Some of us find it in our work and get paid. Some of us find it in our volunteer work and make room for purpose in the time between. We have to co-create a better, more just world. I wonder where each of us are finding meaning these days. How are you living out your values? When I returned from sabbatical 12 days ago, I dug through 2,700 emails. And I was touched by all the ways this congregation has engaged in the wider world and with one another this spring. Some of you have been showing up to the weekly standout at the Burlington ICE office. We've all increased our involvement with the Roxbury Youth Program, showing up for programming or volunteering with those teens. There's been conversations about covenant and community. There's been a re-engagement with postcards to defend democracy. There are many ways we are living our faith, both within the walls of First Parish and beyond. Many of us know how to work, but do we know how to live? As I wrote this sermon, I began to think of boredom on a continuum. On one end is a boredom that is motivating, that is signaling to us that something needs to change. And on the other end is a boredom that we're invited to embrace, a slowness that encourages us to sink deeper. It is countercultural to leave behind a cult of busyness and productivity, or the cult of adrenaline and drama. It is countercultural to move away from an addiction of high stimulation, to insist that collecting acorns is a sacred and holy act. As you think of this continuum of a boredom that inspires and a boredom that invites, where do you fall? Where have you found yourself lately? DJ and I both stick out our tongues and place them on our top lips when we are focusing. So does my niece Veda. I think I've passed this on to the children in my lives. It's a quirky little trait that is a telltale sign of deep concentration. And as DJ was behind this cabin in Vermont, her tongue was fully out. She was locked in on those acorns. Pick up 1, drop 2, pick up 3, drop 1, pick up 2, drop 5. And I was bored, but it was an important boredom. I was present with DJ as she was fully engaged in the world. So this boredom was an invitation to slow down, to savor the moment. Me and DJ, the trees, the quiet, the lush Vermont green. And there was privilege there, that space, that time I was given. The sabbatical provided a privilege of time away from the constraints of my daily life. So even though I was bored, it was not a waste. And nor was I not grateful. I was grateful. I was just in unfamiliar territory. This moment was generative in a way that was not tied to capital or use or production. I slowed down and I joined DJ's rhythm. A child's rhythm that breeds curiosity and creativity. And perhaps I was a little uncomfortable, not because I was unhappy or irritated, but because this type of engagement was not something I'm used to. The muscle of quiet and singular focus was out of shape. What was underneath the boredom was a reminder of how fast I typically move, how hectic my life can be. Boredom was signaling me to embrace the slow. Might we turn to boredom and welcome it in and perhaps delight in it? I wonder how each of us might invite boredom this summer. Perhaps an afternoon at the beach, connecting with all of your senses to the waves, the rocks, the sand, the shore. Or a morning on the porch during the dog days of summer, sitting with no agenda, no task, not even a book. Mary Mann in her research names that certain economic or social privileges might allow for more rest or boredom, but not necessarily. Certainly class or race or circumstance or documentation status shapes our experiences. And when we're in a state of need, whether because of our identities or a medical crisis, we might be yearning for the privilege of boredom. Nevertheless, Mary Mann also writes that boredom can happen at any time, no matter where you fall in the hierarchy of needs. She writes about people in refugee camps, bored while waiting for a needed food distribution. She writes about soldiers at a war front bored, a reminder that boredom can happen anywhere to anyone. There are many times in our lives when boredom simply is. It's not a thing to escape or fix. Boredom reminds us that we are not in control. It can strip away pretense and distraction, allowing us to learn what is underneath. I know many of you have been at loved ones' bedsides during death and dying. Some of you quite recently. And it is powerful and awe-inspiring and a privilege to be present to goodbyes and regrets, heartache and love. And it also can be boring. At some point, everything else fades away, and you are just watching and waiting. Many things are true at the same time. It can be a holy moment, and it can be boring. It's okay to say that out loud. It's okay to struggle with boredom. In our fast-paced lives, in our hectic world, we're not used to this level of slowness, of absence. We're not used to slowing down, to less stimulation, to experiences that aren't about tasks and to-do lists. How do we learn to sit in that place? Poet James Cruz writes this piece entitled "The Space Between." Here's his poem. Learn to love what brings you space. Long car ride, eternity of flipping through magazines in the waiting room, the boredom of an August afternoon when you notice a lime green tree frog asleep for hours outside the window. How many minutes can you spend as if time were a limitless currency, just watching his shut eyes for a flutter of life before you come back to the lists, the news, an overseas flight which the airline canceled without telling you, and find that you can breathe around each worry. Rest in the gaps between. How many minutes can you spend resting in the gaps between? As many of you know, my parents live in Brookline and my in-laws live in Lexington. And there are many things I love about this proximity. But one of the things I've come to treasure is how mundane our visits can be. Daniel, DJ, and I see them with a frequency in which we have an easy familiarity. Our visits aren't loaded There isn't a lot of pressure to have a really good time. If it's low energy, or if DJ has a tantrum, which she is a lot these days at 17 months, that's okay. We will try again in a few days. We aren't cramming in activities. We have the blessing of being slow with one another. What a gift it is to be comfortable enough to be bored with each other's presence. I think of that in long-term relationships. I think of that when we're yearning for something exciting, and yet there's such a gift of slow familiarity. This upcoming year will be hectic for First Parish. This congregation will continue to do its important interim work, preparing for search, creating a covenant, creating space for conversations, for claiming what is valued by this congregation and what is important. It will be a busy and hectic time. And our nervous systems might be in overdrive between the changes here at First Parish and the chaos of the larger world. There are many reasons to be unsettled, perhaps. I know many of us are anxious about the world around us. There are many reasons why it is hard to slow down. My hope for all of us is that we might rest in the gaps between, that we will know how to be bored together. May we learn to love what brings us space, to sit with discomfort long enough to learn what is underneath. May we savor the acorn moments in our lives. May we breathe around each worry and rest in the gaps between. May we find ourselves among wildflowers. May it be so, and amen.